We hope you enjoyed this nice background elevator music. Yeah.
Welcome to
LTA with
TCR
and JRB.
This is where the fun begins.
You're just not thinking fourth dimensional.
Peter03.
Num num.
I'm vengeance.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yup.
I love you guys.
Hold on to your butts.
If we find out you have personalized license plates, you die.
Dude, I almost had you.
To that I say, all right.
Good evening. It is March 21st, 2022,
And it is time for your Monday Night Pick Me Up, where two beard bros dive into all things Marvel, DC, pop culture, IP, and the latest happenings in the film industry. That's you, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Let's get to it. Coming up on today's show, we have a lot, and I mean a lot, to talk about. First off, Deadpool 3 has a director. Wow. Christopher Lloyd is joining season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Great Scott!
We got new promo material from Miss Marvel that teases a theme park type Avengers land called Avengers Con. That's something to talk about in itself, so we'll get to that. But first,
we are live beaming directly into your homes and phones via our LightsThunderAction Facebook and the HWWS WebTV channel on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. All of those links can be found at Linktr.com/LightsThunderAction. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow to view the live version of our show where you can interact with us. But if you don't want to look at our beautiful beards, but you do want to hear our beautiful voices,
then you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, and Spotify. Please follow and subscribe on those platforms as well, and leave us a 5-star review and ask a question, and we'll answer it right here on the show.
Right here.
That's it.
That's it.
Thomas,
we're here.
We made it.
We
Season
did it.
3.
We're live. Literally.
We're doing it live, man. Season 3 has begun, and I'm super excited to be here. David, I see you. You're watching us right now. He is still producing the show. I got to say, it feels weird. I kind of feel like Joe coming in for Steve on Blue's Clues. It just feels different. But I'm going to make the most of it, and you will not remember me as Joe from Blue's Clues. You are going to remember me as JRB, who is second best to David still. But we're going to kick it. We're going to kill it, and we're going to enjoy all of it. So let's get right to it.
Let's get to it. JRB, ladies and gentlemen, if you're confused, like, which, you know, some people might be, it's the world lives fast. That's not a sentence. David is now behind the scenes here at this show because he is front center, behind the scenes, side scenes. He's everything's at Cinema Spending, a movie business podcast with David Thompson. He's got 2 episodes out. It drops every Monday at 6 a.m. Be sure to check it out. David, I enjoyed today's episode more than anything because it was about Movie Pass. And if you knew David and I, when Movie Pass was popping off, we would have to schedule specific work shifts just so we could go to see a movie. Like, oh, no, hold on, I need you to sub this shift so we can go do this and we can do that all the time. So go check that out. Again, Cinema Spending. He's going to talk the box office, and he's going to be back here when we have, you know, big box office news to talk about. But our new co-host is John Ross Bradford, a.k.a. JRB. That's right. It's LTA with TCR and JRB, talking about the film industry. Nailed it.
Love it.
But JRB, we were just talking right before we went on. I was like, I just thought of a million questions that I should ask. So let's dive into them. So where are you from? Where were you born? How's your mom? How's your sister? Your brothers? Your cousins and your aunts?
Everyone's great. I am from Chicagoland area in Illinois. I'm born and raised, so I've been here my whole life. Mom is doing well right down the street. So is sister and brothers and dad. Cousins are all over the country. I have family in Michigan and Maryland and Tennessee and all over the place. My brother's down in Florida. He's in the Air Force. So got a little bit of everything in there. But yeah, Chicagoland for me. Always has been. Or I will continue to be.
Yes. So that means longer. Well, we talk Chicago, I think sports. So let's talk about the sports. What are your sports teams?
A big Cubs guy. Huge Cubs fan.
Okay.
So this past year has been particularly rough watching all of the guys that I got to see win a World Series go sign these multi-million-dollar contracts with other teams and get to live it up doing their own thing. Now Chris Bryant's down in Colorado and Javi Baez is in Michigan, and I think Anthony Rizzo's with the Yankees still. And they're all kind of living it up. And I know they miss it here, and we miss them a ton. So that's kind of where I'm at. But the Bulls have been fun to watch, so that's been a nice distraction.
It's been a nice distraction. What about football? Who's your team?
Believe it or not, I'm actually a Packers fan. Yeah, I grew up.
E2 Brute?
I know it. I know it. My dad's a huge Bears fan, and I always liked to give him a hard time, but it kind of actually grew into a real fanship, if that's a word. But I really grew a liking for Brett Favre, and then I ended up following him to the Jets and the Vikings, but still stuck with the Packers. And then when Aaron Rodgers took over, he was such a stud, and he took him to the Super Bowl almost immediately. So I was a huge fan of his work, and so it's easier to be a Packers fan than a Bears fan, no matter where you are. So.
That is true. That is true. And I mean, hey, it's easier to be a Packers fan than a Cowboys fan too. But we're not going to talk about Jerry Jones still ruining free agency. That's not what this pod's about. No, we're here to talk about fun stuff and not Jerry Jones. Take that, Jerry World.
That's season 3 for you. It's going to be a lot of anger towards sports.
Yeah, pretty much. Good God, we've done some bad business moves, and then the Colts today, like. Shout out David and Matt Rimke for having a great free agency day, a great team doing smart decisions. Must be nice. It must be nice because
they're just rotating veteran quarterbacks out in and out of there like it's nothing. It's crazy.
It's crazy, and they're gonna produce. And then meanwhile, we took almost a month to figure out a 2-year, $10 million deal with someone who should be paid more than that. Mind-boggling, but whatever, man. Whatever, Jerry. So JRB. Did you go to college?
Yeah. Well, community college, at least. I did some classes at Wabanzi, and now I'm kind of trying to figure out what my next step is, where I want to go, what I want to do. So I'm enjoying my time right now at a tech company, fixing a bunch of stuff, troubleshooting things, and really exploring my passion for problem solving. And I'm trying to see where that'll lead me as well.
Intriguing. Problem solving can get you a lot of places. It can get you an engineering degree, and then you realize, oh, I didn't realize that I wanted the degree. So, I made it. That's fun. Okay, so let's before we get too deep into the weeds, let's cover some really fun basics. Do you have any pets?
I do. I have a 3-year-old golden retriever named Lady, and she is the best.
Whitey bird.
And since we're on the topic of loved ones, I also have a beautiful fiance that most of you probably know by now. Her name's Alexis, and I'm sure you've seen her on Twitter. So it's just Alexis and Lady, and that's
Whitey.
it.
Beautiful, love it. What a loving family you got there. So damn beautiful, man. Maybe one day I'm older and I'm 35 years old living in a van down by the river. If you enjoyed our new intro, just know that I had to really talk myself into cutting out a large Chris Farley sequence, which was 35. I cut it out because it was like 7.5 seconds. I was like, that's too long. I can fit 3 little Peter threes in here. So
our intro reel would have been exclusively Tommy Boy if Thomas had his way. So be happy that we had like 4 or 5 people have a say in that decision.
Did you eat a lot of paint chips as a kid? Yeah. Why? God, what a movie. Let's jump to the comments really fast. Shout out Terry McIver, always hanging out with us. As you saw, he demanded a Kenobi and he got one. It was an okay Kenobi. Maybe later we'll do a better one. David Thompson hanging out with us. Oh, look at that. He's here the whole time. He says he bows at the knee of JRB. I love a good rhyme. He appreciates the shout out. Always, man, always. The good old days. Yeah, the good old days. I don't even remember how to spell those days. Rosemary Rose of MBL Entertainment is here. Thank you, Rose, for tuning in. Thank you for sharing. And also Rose's and Reactions. Excuse me. That is her show here on the HWWS WebTV. Bam. There it is. And it's gone. For the visual audience. For the audio, you're just hearing me say bam. It's super awkward for you. I know. David says, amazing to see the 78th episode. Very proud of this show and the both of the bearded bros. And then Terry McIver, this is the saddest thing. Try supporting a team that fired a man for taking a stand for civil rights by taking a knee. Go Niners. Facepalm. Terry McIver lives in Ireland, and his favorite team is the 49ers. That is like almost opposite side of the world. Like almost,
You made
not
it
fully.
all the way across the country before you found a team. But then you struck gold.
Oh, nice.
Very mediocre in the playoffs gold. But
Very...
enough to beat the Packers pretty much every time. So you got
Hey,
that going for you.
Listen, if you can play defense and run the ball, you can beat Aaron Rodgers.
Anyway, I see Beth Ann's in the comments too. She says, welcome. Thank you. It was actually on this very show that I met Beth Ann. Can't wait to see you back here.
For the Spider-Man No Way Home 2-part review. There is a huge spider hanging from my ceiling. Hi, please don't bite me. I don't want the responsibility of Spider-Man. But what ironic timing. Beth Ann, of course, hosts her music podcast with also friend of the show, Leah. They were just both on the last 3 out of 4 episodes. We covered the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, which was a lot of us complaining that not all of it was as good as Last Jedi. We're those people. But now it is time to jump to actually, real quick, JRB. Have you got anything coming up in the next week that you're so excited about you don't want to wait till the end of the week or end of the episode to talk about?
Ooh.
A look ahead so people can kind of get to know you. What gets you excited in the morning?
You know what? Actually, one of the most exciting things that I'll be doing this week will be looking at wedding photographers with my fiance. So I don't think we want to talk about that here, but
nice.
I did see
That's
the
awesome.
Batman today, and I am 100% ready to roll and dive deep into those spoilery conversations because I'm about 2 weeks behind everybody else right now. I haven't had the opportunity to have this conversation yet. So you guys are going to get to hear it, before I've really refined any of it. You get my raw reaction to this. So this will be fun.
This will be
something
fun.
Exciting.
I was planning to do that at the end of the episode, but that's a beautiful segue into I'm the Batman. I'm the Batman. I'm the Batman. JRB, it's so funny because our last episode 77, we talked the Batman and we made the joke. You're like, oh, maybe I'll see the Batman before and we can talk about it. And you saw it right before this show. So we are here. We're going to talk JRB's in the moment. Fresh, like he just said, he's not refined anything, so he says. I smell some humble pie there. JRB, give us your non-spoiler thoughts of the Batman, and then just go balls deep in the spoilers.
Okay, non-spoiler thoughts. It's the best way I can put it is it's the most cinematic Batman movie ever made. And I mean that in the best way possible. It was easily one of the most beautifully shot, like comic book movies I've ever seen. So that was huge. But it also was truly like a Batman film. All the other Batman movies I've seen, it really felt like the story is centric to Bruce Wayne and his character and how Batman is like an extension of that. Or, or even Christian Bale's portrayal, it still felt very even. I don't remember more than like 20 minutes of the movie where Robert Pattinson wasn't in the bat suit. So that was really cool too, because you don't see a lot of that. So I was very, very delighted by this and glad I did give it the time that it needed, because that was a long film. And I don't know, 40 minutes of ads before seems excessive.
It is.
My showtime was at 1:10. The movie did not start playing until 1:47. That's outrageous. But anyway, that added like an extra hour. So that's why I felt like it was so long. But anyway, let's really get into it now.
Yes.
I'm gonna let you lead the way, and I'm gonna tag on to pretty much anything and everything you say.
We were talking beforehand, and you were talking about like the shots and him walking through the water. And I was like, yeah, it's like Moses parting the Red Sea, or it's his baptism, it's fresh off his baptism. And now he's the symbol of hope. And He's leading everyone from the shadows to the light. He is the light, honestly. And so it's so beautiful. But then, you're like, oh, there's so many layers and levels that we can talk about in just that one scene. And I think it's great that this entire movie, I've sat with it off 2 viewings since it came out. I think I saw, March 1st and March 4th. I've not seen it since. I don't know if I'm going to see it again in theaters just because there's other things coming out. A, B, don't have time to sit in the movies that much. C, money. So, and on April 19th, it's coming out on HBO Max. So I'm like,
Yes.
I wonder how it's going to change my viewing experience a lot inside of my house where there's a dog and sometimes she's too cute not to cuddle despite the movie being amazing.
That was one piece I had, was that next time I watch this movie, I need to have the pause button. Like I thoroughly enjoyed this movie in the theaters, but I'm not going to go see it more than once.
Okay.
Because I'm happy about that 45-day window it has before it hits HBO Max. I'm just going to wait for that before I watch it again. But
smart.
I need a pause button because that movie could have been 2 movies in a lot of ways. A lot of ways.
I was just thinking that this movie reminds me of Zack Snyder's Justice League and how that, like, you can watch it in specific chunks. And I'm going to say it here now. No Way Home is the same way. Endgame is the same way. Infinity War is the same. Like, that's where this model was, in my opinion, really like brought forth, is like, those are, we've got this sequence, we've got this sequence, we've got this sequence, we've got this sequence. And those are just issues of a comic book inside this large story. And the Batman has so, like, every single scene is like a one-shot issue. It's like, we have the whole scene inside of Catwoman's apartment. And that feels like one issue by itself. Then we go and do the next thing, the action thing, the little thing. And then we come back to it. You got a lot of cats. Like, it's so beautifully crafted. And I think Matt, some people are going to not like this comment, but I think Matt Reeves did what Zack Snyder wanted to do better than Zack Snyder has shown he can do.
Yes.
Because I love Zack Snyder.
Yes, that's 100% what I was thinking, because you get to a point in this film where it's so dark and so gritty, but I know they parted ways with Ben Affleck fairly early on while this movie was kind of being conceptualized. And I know a lot probably changed with that decision before picking up Robert Pattinson. So I know this wouldn't have been the exact same movie with Ben Affleck. But Robert Pattinson does a much better job of capturing that type of Batman that they're trying to portray. It's night and day difference between him and Affleck. And he really shows that tortured, like, pained side. Where he's really just lost it. And he's not well kept together, and he can barely, get himself out of his home for one event, without looking distraught. I think, honestly, that as much as I enjoy Matt Reeves' work, this did kind of feel like something you would see from Zack Snyder too. And it worked really well. So that's very much there.
So you mentioned the car sequence before we hopped on, and I really, the world needs to know, what did you think of this car sequence?
It was one of the most enjoyable ones I've seen. That was a very pleasant surprise, because I feel like even in the Christian Bale trilogy, like, the Batmobile was such a weapon almost, that even when you had the chases, it felt like it was just kind of a transition from scene to scene. This one, it really put the focus on the driving of it and the high intensity chase. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that Penguin was also just driving his own car, and he was putting other people in harm's way. And Batman was really just more concerned with catching him than he was with the safety of all those other drivers, because there was a lot of explosions on the freeway. But it worked really well for what the story they were trying to tell. He's not that hero yet, which you pointed out, and we'll probably get to in a second here. But I really liked how particularly reckless it was. oh man, and the score playing like through that too. And when he came through the fire, and when he would make those turns, you would just hear that blast of his score play of that main theme. Yeah, I thought that was a really, really well done. They didn't even use a lot of that for the advertising, so it was a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah, we thought we'd seen everything we needed to of that car scene, of that car chase and the media, the marketing. But when it comes through, you're watching and you're like, oh my God, this is the thing about this car chase to me is you mentioned the score. The score, you've got this really quiet sequence, like that, like, you know, okay. And then it cuts to the Batman and the Batmobile, and it's bah, 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 bah.
Yes, exactly that.
And it's just cutting in and out. So whoever you're with is kind of the vibe you're getting. The Penguin has got this like I'm just taking him away because he's got to get away from the money. I don't care about anything. Like, that was a smart move by Penguin.
Yeah,
a lot of people aren't talking about. He was like, save the money, I'll take him, we'll get off, it'll be okay. Because if he gets me and he doesn't kill me, then what are they going to do? Arrest me? So then the way they utilize the camera angles as well, everything on Cobblepot is like it looks like you're in the mirror, like you're looking from that side view mirror, which is a shot, like a sequencing that I instantly was like, oh, Dark Knight. But that's because that's where I think I might have first seen that and was like, oh wow, that's like the rear view mirror angle. I love that. But then they have this off the edge, off the tire, like aiming right down the pipe, like you're just trying to snipe out the Penguin here. And it's so beautiful how they use cinematography in the score and just the badass Batmobile that it is to just instill fear. And it comes in and it ends and boom. And you're like, wow, wow, that was an amazing, like there was so much emotion from Penguin all along the way. And, you know, yeah, we knew the end of the chase, but it's one of those things where it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. That scene is all about the journey. And a lot of this movie is about the journey.
Oh yeah, absolutely it is. I really appreciate that too, because it's like Spider-Man Homecoming, where they don't worry about they don't even bother with any backstory. They're like, look, you've heard this story enough times. We're just going to get right to it. You can follow us along the way and pick up stuff as we go that you need to know. So like 2/3 of the way into the movie, you start learning about Thomas Wayne. You're like, wait, you're right. We haven't even really met him yet. But yet we already know so much about Batman's backstory that they're like, look, you can assume all of this and just be along for this ride. I really appreciated not having to waste any time with going over that backstory again, because it really allowed that extra space, you know, for that exposition they needed. That was a risk, but
yeah,
it works when it's done right. They definitely did it right.
They did. They tied it in, you know, right after they start playing Something in the Way when Batman is staring at the mayor's son, who is the one, you know, it starts when it's like, he's the one who found him. Boom. And it starts from right there. It's like, oh, we're about to get real dark and broody.
Yeah.
And it goes through. And then when that song ends in the movie, it's because they say, and it's on the 20-year anniversary, it's the same week, 20 years to the day that Thomas and Martha Wayne were gunned down, and he turns down the volume. And that's how they instantly, in a 10-second sequence of a sentence, they give you his origin story. Thomas and Martha have been killed. Wow. Much surprise. Moving on. You know,
yeah, right. Exactly.
Very sad. Anyway.
Right. They're like, you didn't know this. You heard of you heard of this guy that the movie's named after?
So you're not a DC guy, right? Per se,
not as much as Marvel. No, not to the same extent. I grew up with, you know, DC IP everywhere, but I never really like dove into it like I did for Marvel. So it's much more on the surface than that.
Okay. So what did you think of the narration sequences in this film?
The narration throughout the movie was so perfectly placed that I didn't even realize it was being narrated. all throughout, it blended so perfectly that it took me a moment to realize, hold on, wait, this is someone talking to me right now. You know, it's everything, the way this story flowed and progressed was at expert level. The how articulate and, or I guess meticulous is the better word, they were with, you know, placing the right details in the right spot and pointing them out to the viewer at the right moment. That, like you said, the news anchors played a huge role in this movie, just casually bringing up so many little details that would come to light later. Like the election, that was one of the first things we saw on screen, was the election debate. And that very topic that they were talking about was a core, you know, argument that this whole movie ended up being based on. And it all kind of unfolded from that first disagreement you saw on screen. So that little bit of narration there played such a huge role in the development of the story, that it all kind of fell apart so naturally, that you didn't feel like there were any details where it felt misplaced, like they were trying to lead you to something. It just felt like more chaotic, like we were at the same pace as the Batman, watching everything happen and thinking like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do next? What's happening now? Wait, this can't be happening yet. I haven't figured this out yet. It was almost like a murder mystery, like Knives Out, with the Batman. So that was really neat to see. I was a big fan of that.
Absolutely. You know, you just mentioned that we see the renewal project and the debate about that, and that's how we start. I didn't realize that until you mentioned it, dude. That's amazing. Like, that's the first time that I've heard that, and
Yeah,
it's been
it's
dawned
really
on
cool.
to me.
And it's so subtle because there's so much more going on in that scene that you have to pay attention to. Like, Riddler's right there. And the amount of time it took him to realize that Riddler was right there is way too long for your own home. But that was such a pivotal moment right off the bat. But you don't even realize that right in that moment, you're learning a key detail that's going to play a part in pretty much every scene that follows. It's really cool.
So let's talk about the Riddler. Let's talk about the main villain of this film. What did you think of Paul Dano's Edward Nashton?
Well, I can very clearly see the Zodiac Killer inspirations. I thought that was pretty on the nose. I think that was definitely the best. I don't know if the best, but definitely a much better way to portray that character in a movie like this. It was almost like they had an idea for the villain already and then decided to pick a Batman rogue to fit into that role, and Riddler fit nicely because they could revamp him as like a serial killer type conspiracy theorist almost. But I think it worked well enough to that it wasn't distracting in any way. You don't even think of, you know, the Jim Carrey Riddler in the neon green jumpsuit jumping around telling riddles. You know, there's much more weight to it, and it doesn't feel silly. But he was still playful and truly insane. And I couldn't see through it at all. I thought he did a really amazing job at bringing that to life.
Yeah, there's so much about this movie that we're going to kind of ride the Riddler now to get through it in a brief-ish time. So the riddles were all kind of just there, and some of them, you know, I've heard people complain like, oh, it took Batman way too long to come up with. Like, the riddle gets mentioned and I instantly know the answer. And it's like, I mean, Batman probably would too, but everybody else is struggling. And he's like, oh, okay. It just seems like he's reluctant to be the one who's like doing all this stuff. And then he's pointing out stuff for the cops. The Riddler, on the other hand, has it all figured out. It's planned up to a T until it switches. And it builds up, and we find out Thomas Wayne might have had someone killed, and we find out Martha Wayne is actually Martha Arkham. And so when they say that Bruce Wayne is the prince of the city, that's what they actually mean, is he's literally the son of the two most powerful families that found Gotham. Interesting when it comes to the Court of Owls, but whatever, sure. I think it was well handled, and you know, at that point, it makes you question whether or not, for a little bit, whether the Riddler knows if Bruce Wayne is Batman, right? And it builds up to that scene. in Arkham Asylum or the prison place. I think it's Arkham. I think it's already in Arkham. It builds up to that scene, and he like it gets to a point. He's like, Bruce Wayne, all the way, and it's like he's the only one we didn't get. And Batman doesn't say a word. The score is like scary, and he's just sitting there waxing poetic. And as soon as he goes, he's the only one we didn't get. Everything in the audio is silent, and it's just to the Batman, and he has this look in his eye of realization, like, oh my God, he doesn't even know. Nice. So then he just starts asking questions like, well, what about him? And it builds to this point where he's like, no, you're insane. You're nothing like me. Because the Riddler based his entire gimmick and his MO on the Batman. At this point, we don't know that there's an entire flood about to happen, and we don't know that everyone's about to kind of almost die, and lots of Riddlers are about to jump through this the Gotham Square Garden. We don't know that, so we're just sitting there with it, like, okay, like, wow. And he just snaps and he loses it. What are you talking about? And he's like, wow, he is Batman. He is Batman. And then you get to that end, and Batman takes the Venom toxin, and he goes and beats the shit out of the guy from the funeral scene when he's like, hey, do you look familiar? And he's like, Bruce Wayne. On first watch, I totally thought that was the guy that killed his parents. Not gonna lie. The way he's like, you look familiar. And then he's like, Bruce Wayne. And he like slinks back. It's like, oh, okay, like intriguing.
That was an interesting scene. The way that it was very comic booky in a sense that he was just walking and some bystander just happened to be talking to no one, and he could overhear that conversation.
Yeah.
There were a couple instances like that where I was like, oh, that was convenient that he overheard that. Or when the same scene when he sees the commissioner and they notice Bruce Wayne standing there ominously, like obviously listening to their conversation. They just go right back to it and keep talking about that top secret situation. But yeah, that was one slight pullback I had, but
okay.
But that's kind of the nature of these things, so I get it.
Well, as David Thompson says, John Ross clearly hated it. No, I'm just, but I love how the Riddler takes us on this ride, and you think you're on the ride, like it's the Batman taking it. No, it's the Riddler. This whole movie is just stringing you along, and you know we get that amazing ending, and we haven't even talked about Selena Kyle yet, but Batman and Riddler, he beats the shit out of the guy, takes the venom, beats the shit out of the guy, takes the mask off. Who are you? I'm Vengeance. And like at that moment, you're like, damn, dude, like, don't be that guy. Like, you shouldn't have did that. That's exactly how we got here. B-man, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's also like at that moment that he realizes he has to change. And it's not too long after that electrical wire goes down. He makes that jump. He takes out his Batarang chest symbol and slices it, falls into the water, baptism, etc. And it's beautiful. Like, it's poetic. And you mentioned Bruce Wayne standing there. There is no Bruce Wayne in this movie. It's Batman in the suit and out of the suit. And I love it so much.
I love that. I wrote that down right here. I said, even as Bruce, he's still very Batman. Like, we've seen so many Batman movies where we meet Bruce and then Batman kind of comes from Bruce and he's an extension of Bruce. But like in here, it's almost the opposite, where we meet the Batman and then like he kind of learns to be Bruce again as he's also Batman all the time. Like, it's completely consumed him. You're right. He's one person, and he's only Bruce when he absolutely cannot be Batman in that moment. So you're right. He's acting as one figure, and it's Vengeance, which is crazy.
The only time he really changes is as soon as Alfred gets hurt. As soon as Alfred goes down, he starts spiraling.
Oh my God. That's another thing is this is the best Alfred. And not to say anything against Michael Caine or any of the previous Alfreds, but this is by far the best Alfred. Like they added so much emotional depth to him did he even have 10 minutes of screen time?
I don't think so. I think he spent more time in a bed than he did anywhere else in the movie.
Yeah, and they killed it. There was the perfect inclusion, because if we didn't have that moment in the hospital, I would have said, why was Alfred in this movie at all? You know, but once that happened, I was like, oh, that's what they're doing here. And that was, the way this story was crafted was awesome.
And it
Oh,
is.
no. Oh no! What did David say? A hot take is.
Oh,
David says this is a hot take amongst people. JR, what did I say? Was it the comic accurate bystanders talking to themselves like crazy people?
I don't know,
because I love that. Sure. I do that sometimes.
I really did love how he stood the exact same whether he was in or out of the suit, and you're like, yeah, it's the same guy, but people reacting to them. Alfred being the best.
Alfred being the best is apparently a hot take. All right, I will. How does Liam Crowley say it? Die on this hill.
Hey, JR,
people kind of hate on this Alfred.
They do. No, when you said you love it and you think it's the best Alfred, I was like, wow, look at us. Like, I know that I'm the only one who thinks that, and I think he's the best Alfred. For
holy cow,
he's got the same emotional weight, or he's got the emotional weight that you need, but he's actually purposeful. It's the little details throughout the movie. It's not him, I raised you. Oh, you should wear these cufflinks. Oh no, I'm almost dying. No, it's him running Wayne Enterprises or Wayne Corp, whatever it's called, Wayne Industries. He is running that. You see that every scene. He's the one in the suit. He's the one doing paperwork. He's normally the butler. They got somebody else. They got a lady answering.
Right. His butler has a butler now. What's going on there? Like, this guy sees a legacy that needs to be carried on, and he's doing something about it. Everyone else has just been Bruce's glorified babysitter, in a sense. I mean, they take great care of him, but what's their purpose beyond that? But beyond being that guy in the chair, Alfred, there's so much emotional weight to this character. He saw a broken family and saw what it needed, and even had the humility to say that he couldn't amount to what Bruce needed in his life, but still took it on anyway because he's a good person. And that could stem entirely, or Bruce's humanity could stem almost entirely from Alfred's willingness to continue to take care of him after his parents died, because who else would have kept him afloat? Yeah. So I'm very surprised by that, because I thought this was the first Alfred that actually did something besides lift a burning log off of Bruce. Yes, and what I really, with a great one-liner too. What's the point of doing all them push-ups if you can't lift a tree off of you? Right, comedic. What's the word? Yeah. I'm totally
comedic relief.
Relief. There it is.
Yeah.
Thank you. Comedic relief.
And he does it in this movie too, like in subtle different ways. It's like, oh, look, you finally decided to join us. And he's like, puts on the sunglasses. Okay. And he's helpful. He's doing the cipher throughout the way. And we find out that he taught Bruce to fight. He's like, well, maybe if I taught you to do this instead of fighting, maybe it would have turned out different. And stuff like that, and I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was well handled. And it's the only person you see. It's so weird because he does this tough love stuff, but like every time he's not right in front of him, you can see he's like, I don't know what to do for him, and I'm hurting because I want him to not be hurting. Like, you see that in his performance, and it's well done. Alfred is the reason that Batman decides to go hopeful. It's the first time Bruce kind of is Bruce Wayne, really, like truly in that moment. He's got a few ones, but he's still Batman in the Bruce Wayne. But when he's sitting there talking with Alfred, and then he's like, you lied to me. And then he goes through and he's like, I thought, and he starts talking about his feelings, and he like starts to kind of cry, but like can't cry because he can't cry in front of people because he's an emo boy, and that's not what we do. So he did hold it in very well. He did. Yeah. And he's just like, I'm not going to do this. Like, it's enough to make a grown man cry, but
my camera lenses will fall out.
So it's really well done. Selena Kyle, really quick, before we jump to the Joker, let's talk about Selena Kyle. What do you think of her?
Man, if I had a hot take about Alfred, I don't know how I'm going to do with Selena Kyle, but not gonna lie, I was not a huge fan of the performance, but I liked the role that she played. It's just it brings me back to that same thing I had with the Riddler, where it worked with the Riddler but doesn't work for her. They had a role and an idea for a role, and then tried to find a Batman character to put into it. I think there were just not enough instances that made me go, "Oh, that's Catwoman," other than the fact that she had the little pointy ski mask and had some cats in her apartment, because we kind of just saw her leap around for a second and ride on a motorcycle, and beat the crap out of the guy on the edge of a building. But we didn't really see any of the cat burglary stuff as much, except for when she broke into that crime scene. And I don't know, maybe that was enough for everyone, and I'm just being picky. But I feel like every other character had some sort of distinct route in the comics, and I didn't really feel that with her. But maybe that's just me.
Intriguing. I can see it. Here's my argument. Oh man, yeah, David's gonna enjoy this. The spicy webs are about to come out. I would argue that Black Widow had the same exact debut in Iron Man 2, and everybody loved that. They were like, "Oh my god, yeah!" But in this, the difference is she has an emotional tie to the story, and she kicks ass the same way. She steals. She does all that. Okay, first off, her going down and leaping off of like the fire escape was
that
insane.
Was cool. That was really cool. I like that a lot.
Somebody teach me how to do that because I want to look cool too. But it was so beautiful how they did that. And my favorite thing about her was not so much like I didn't think, "Oh, that's Catwoman." The only character in this movie where I look at it and go, "That's the character from the comics as they are meant to be." Two, exactly. Actually, two, excuse me. The Batman and Jim Gordon, right? Those are the ones where I'm like, they're exactly out of the comic. Beautiful. And that's who the plot of this movie really focuses on. With Selena Kyle, okay, I got to be fair. I'm biased. I love Catwoman. I have a huge thing for Selena Kyle as a character. And I like how they use this tragedy of her life, juxtaposing it with the Riddler's tragedy, to juxtapose it further with Bruce's tragedy, for him to finally go, "Well, maybe I didn't have it so bad." You know? And it's the thing with a lot of people, that what a lot of people love about this Zoe Kravitz interpretation is her electricity. Like, she owns the scene in she owns the screen in every scene she's in just by walking. She has a presence. You know, like when she's on screen, you look at her. She has such a presence that Bruce Wayne and Batman looked at her shoes and looked at the thing and went, "Oh my God, it's the same girl." Only for later on someone else to be wearing those same boots, right? Like, that's the kind of presence she has. He could tell it was her through a photo. That's where I'm saying, yes. That's my headcanon.
I think the main, you say that she was tied to such an emotional part of the plot, and she was, but like, why did they do that? You know, because the Russian girl that was dating the mayor was killed. First of all, I know that she's probably gone through some serious emotional trauma in her life, but she did not at all seem connected to that girl. Once she realized that she had been taken, she's like, "Oh no, she's just a kid." Anyway, yeah, I do like cats. And after that, it was like, I don't know. Once we ended up hearing that voicemail, then you really saw that emotion because she was exposed to it and couldn't avoid it. So, okay, so I do see how that plays out. But at the same time, like,
I was talking about her Falcone connection more so than Nikki or Ani.
See, yeah, I see that, but
I forgot about that Russian girl.
Okay, I guess.
So did everybody else, apparently.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they just casually showed her in a bag in the back of a truck, and then that was it.
Sad. Oh yeah, and then we got a chase scene. So
yeah, and then right, and then they followed it with one of the best chase scenes I've ever seen. So
fair.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, it just didn't resonate with me as much. That might change after a second watch. I might have been just too enthralled in all of this Batman goodness with this amazing score and all these all this cool scenery that I didn't really give her the attention she deserves. So
Fair.
I'll be seeing it again once it hits HBO Max. So maybe it'll be my Selena Kyle rewatch.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
rewatch to have. Yeah, when rewatching the movie, everything hits on a whole different level. And it really, on the first watch, I really got this. I was like, I feel like we just went from Batman Begins to The Dark Knight Rises in one movie. And then I watched it again and went, holy shit, we went from Batman Begins to The Dark Knight Rises in one 3-hour movie. And it doesn't feel rushed. It feels earned. And it's only going to be year 2 still. Like, for him to get to this point, like, now I'm going to be a symbol of hope, you know? And Batman doesn't become a symbol of hope in the Dark Knight trilogy till 8 years later, really. Like, you know, it's the same way in this movie. Is it good? Is it bad? Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
See? Yeah. But, I really did. I lost my train of thought. It happens. Batman.
I get what you're saying about like it being like 3 movies in one. Like 1 hour, it did like one act felt like it could be one movie. My takeaway from this movie was that I felt like they had like 4 hours of footage, and instead of splitting it into 2 movies and creating a sequel to release a year later, they're like, no, let's condense it into one like origin type film where you meet him early enough in his Bat career where you see his hero origin story. And then as we start to build that universe, we have more time. Dude, was there a single flashback in this entire movie? I don't think there was. And if there was, it was very short. But one of the things I appreciated most about this was that they wasted no time flashing back. They're like, no, you're going to learn this. You'll figure it out. You know, the seeds planted, they didn't really walk you through anything. They're just like, you're along for this ride. And it was just like Terry said earlier, that they effectively pulled us right into the comic trying to figure out the next move. And how cool that is. It absolutely is. But yeah, it was a lot to take in. I'm not gonna lie, I was looking for a bathroom break somewhere in that movie. I could not find one. It was just nonstop. It was crazy.
I found one after he takes out El Rata Alada, and when he ends up in the Riddler's house, like, or the Riddler's place.
Okay.
I used that sequence. I was like, wait a minute, hold on, let me sit here for a second. I was like, okay, that is coming up. So I ran to the bathroom really fast and came back and got back in right before they're diving into all the stuff that they're finding.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, that would work because they end up revisiting that scene later anyway.
They do, yeah.
Or the crime scene at least, when the actual important stuff happens there. But that would be perfect. Actually, I will remember that when I when I have my pause button on me.
Yes. So now I think we've covered everything except for the Joker. What did you think of Barry Keoghan being in here?
I think it has a lot of potential. I think that he took it on in a way where it doesn't feel derivative of anything we've seen recently. It just feels like a young version of the Joker that he can really grow into, which we have not seen. Every time we meet the Joker, it's a new actor. Like the one exception would be Jared Leto, and that doesn't even technically count, right?
What?
Like what other actor has reprised his role as the Joker in anything? Unless we're counting like Mark Hamill doing multiple episodes as the voice of the Joker, there's like
right.
So we could see an actual actor take on this role and keep going with it if we wanted to, because I don't think Joaquin Phoenix is doing another movie either.
Maybe.
So if this is
rumors.
Yeah, right. That's been up in the air. So if this is the Joker we get to ride with for a bit, I'm cool with it. I think it's got a lot of potential, and Barry seems super passionate about any role he takes on. He loved the Eternals, and I had this detail spoiled for me way before I saw this movie, so I knew he was going to be Joker in it. And I even saw him tweeting the week of the release, like he's on board for this, Yeah. And it makes me think that they have some serious plans for him. And you could just kind of see like how messed up he is, like through the glass, you could see like he's got some sort of forced smile, whether it's like the like whether it's Scars, like Ledger's Joker, or or it's like Nicholas. Oh my
Jack
gosh,
Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. I think I did that last time I talked to you too. But yeah, Jack Nicklaus, where it's like a forced physical thing that he can't change. But I'm super excited to see where that goes.
They have talked about this because a lot of people were like, "Why wasn't this a post-credit scene? It feels like a post-credit scene." And the reasoning, he's like, he said he almost actually cut it out of the movie entirely.
Oh,
because he's like, but he felt like understanding that the Riddler still had more going on, and that you needed to know, because the very next scene is Catwoman saying, there's always going to be trouble in Gotham. And it didn't feel like there was the same weight because you didn't just see the Riddler and Joker meet in Arkham Asylum.
There's very much trouble going on right as you're saying that sentence. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So he left that in, but the reason he almost cut it is because he cut the other scene, which was supposed to be Batman coming to Joker to help get a psych profile on the Riddler.
Whoa.
And I'm so happy they cut it. It's I can't believe I'm saying this. It's the one thing I've been begging for in a live action movie. And I really think they might have gone there if Heath Ledger had not, passed when he did. I think they were going to go back. He was going to get the third movie was going to be all Joker.
Definitely. Yeah. That whole trilogy was kind of teasing an overarching story of Joker. And yeah, absolutely.
And so it's very intriguing that they cut that scene, but they've also talked a little bit like it's not Joker. This is still pre-Joker. There's no makeup. And it was born with a birth condition that makes him smile permanently. And it looked to me like he also had fallen into a vat of acid already.
Yes, there was definitely some skin stuff going on. So that's surprising. Multiple conditions here.
Reminds me of Arkham Asylum Joker.
Ooh, not one I'm as familiar with. I've only played one of the Arkham games. So
which one?
Arkham Knight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Knight. Yeah.
I think it's Arkham City that he's really fucked up and like really gross looking. I believe he's pretty bad in Arkham Asylum too, but like, yeah, he's got like skin tags everywhere. It's really, really creepy. And I really do enjoy his approach. I grew up on Hamill. Hamill started being the Joker in 92 when I was not even one. And so I always just jumped to this voice because that's the voice of my Joker. But the way that he juxtaposed, I was trying to figure out, like, I got to see what this Batman's going to be before I can figure out what kind of Joker needs to be done. And because he's the antithesis, and this Batman is just big, brooding, beat you down, be relentless, and not give a damn. The Joker so far is compassionate, right? He's gentle.
Yeah, he's making friends.
Soothing. Hey, friend. Hey, man, don't be sad. You don't need to do that. It's okay. Gotham loves a comeback story. Like, so calm, cool, collected, that you're like, yeah, I can see why Harley Quinn would fall for this guy. Yeah, I can see why people would fall into working with him. We'll work. Sure, he's crazy, but he's a real, he's gentle at times, right? Like, he's nice. And it makes like, if they're really building to a Joker taking over all of the city, which why not? At this point, Riddler just destroyed everything. And I love it.
Yeah, he's manipulating everything. Yeah, David just said it. He's making friends because he wants to use those friends. I was definitely getting the vibe of like, oh, that dude just hit the cell and he wants to befriend him as soon as possible so you can get him on the same side as him. And the comeback story comment, if we can go to that for a second.
Yes.
Did you get the vibe that he was referring to Bruce when he said that? Because we don't know why he's the Batman in this universe, really. We don't know what happened in his life to force him to actually become the Bat. Did something happen with Bruce Wayne where he had to have the same sort of comeback story, similar to maybe like Oliver Queen in the Arrow series, where maybe it's not as extreme as being stranded on a deserted island, but could be something to that extent where, he had to make that public comeback?
Yeah, we haven't seen that yet. I think that's the next movie. I
Mm.
think the fallout of this movie, you know, the renewal fund, which was Thomas Wayne's pride and joy, turned out to be funding crime and corruption in Gotham. Now that's all gone, and everyone's going to be going and making plays and trying to gain power.
Mhm.
Everyone's going to do the underbelly. You've got a new mayor. You've got an entire town. November 6th, the city's underwater. Like, it's fantastic to see. Shout out grandparents hopping in.
Hey, Grandma's here. Hi, Grandma.
Grandma. Hi, Grandma.
Hey, how's it going? Awesome. This is awesome.
It's fantastic. Everybody's in. It's a family affair. It's so great to watch this, you know, how they took this journey to where Batman is now public. He's fighting in the day. It ends with the movie, ends the movie with him in the day, you know, lifting people up, you know, being a fucking glorified EMT in black for whatever reason. And now Bruce Wayne, you know, everybody loves Bruce Wayne. Oh my God, Bruce Wayne, because he's a recluse. Funerals bring out the most reclusive guy than me, huh? Fantastic. John Turturro kills it in this movie, by the way. Give him everything. But
he was such a great casting for that. I didn't know he was in it, so that was a great surprise. Yeah, somehow that was hidden from me. So
I saw like the day of like March 1st that he's like playing Carmine Falcone. I was like, oh, okay, like he'll be a really small bit. That's cool. Like I like him. And they turned out to be so clutch. And I was like, let's go, John Turturro, bro. Like, scared the hell out of him. He's like, be nice to you. I was like, all right, Al Capone. It's that's another thing. The Penguin is very much Al Capone. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Oh man,
very beautiful.
I gotta admit, I know that Colin Farrell is like kind of known for method acting at this point, or maybe not to the same extent as like Christian Bale, who's one of my favorite method actors, but like, I mean, you couldn't even tell it was him. Like to me, you could kind of hear it in the voice if you were looking for it in certain moments, but like, man, he really embodied the Penguin so well that I didn't see him in that at all. I feel like across the board, the acting was really phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Everyone kind of stepped in and really took on what was expected of them. And that's probably one of the highlights for me, is just how well the acting was all around.
Yes, easily as an actor, it's my favorite thing of this movie. Maybe not. Maybe it's the Batman part of it all is my favorite part. David says, love how they hid Falcone in marketing. Same. Didn't even know he was going to be in the movie until like day of.
No idea.
But the way this movie does end, and you were talking about, you know, the Oliver Queen, does he have to come back and have a comeback story? He said a line that all I could think of was every season, every episode of Arrow. And he's like, I have to become something more. I have to become something else. And I'm like, let's go. Or I think you might say, I have to become something else. I have to become something more. And it's like, okay, like, yes, that's perfect, because they line it up there. And now when Bruce Wayne comes in to fund his Gotham project and help out Mayor Real, he's going to now take the things he just learned as the Batman and as Bruce Wayne and take his, you know, he even says it, what I'm doing is my family's legacy. And it's like, is it though? And now what he's doing will be his family's legacy. And that's going to be his approach. Like, what I'm doing is my family's legacy. Whether they like it or not, whether they did right or wrong, it's all about what I do here for. There's only me. And I think that that's where you're going to get your answer. I'm really hoping that with the series that we have coming out, that we get a little bit of Batman here and there, but then in like the next movie, you know, we might be able to get a nice big Bruce Wayne story. Court of Owls, man. Honestly, Court of Owls. Court of Owls feels like the way to go. If you want to get a real Bruce Wayne story, go Court of Owls, because then it attacks the money side. Because then he'll be on every side of the fight, basically. Then he's surrounded in all areas. Everybody's got it out for the Waynes.
The Court of Owls is something I'm definitely going to be diving into now, because I don't know the first thing about it. And after seeing this movie, that's all I've seen people talking about leading up to it, and also after it came out. So even though it wasn't even mentioned once in this film, it's something I've seen consistently in all the different threads. So I'm going to be looking into that for sure.
Oh, wow. I just realized the time. We've been chatting the Batman for a good 40-ish minutes or so.
It's been a bit.
It's been a
little
bit.
bit.
Final thoughts on the Batman, JRB.
Last thing I'll bring up is his footsteps that were used like throughout the film. Holy crap. That the intimidation, the first time he did it in the subway, I had no idea that's what was happening. That was him walking out of the darkness is what that like loud stomping, like clanking noise was. I love that you can hear him coming. He's not totally all the time like this ninja. Yeah, like a ninja, because he's not. And but by the time you hear him, it's too late. You know, that's what I liked about it. Is like you can hear him, but if you can hear him, you're screwed, man. So I really enjoyed that. Last thing I'll say, didn't totally appreciate how to fully resolve the problem in the story, they conveniently found the Riddler's Instagram and had basically his entire plan just ranting on his Instagram page, like he posted it on his story or something. That was the one problem I had, but I actually kind of liked it too, because a modern psychopath would probably want to find like a cult following to do something like that. But it did seem a little convenient. That's the last thing I'll say.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good point. It was a little bit convenient. Damn. And now I just want to rewatch the Batman. What can I say?
Real quick, my aunt is still watching. Can't wait to see the movie. Aunt Pam, it's amazing and you'll love it. And thank you for watching for so long, because you've been in here for a little bit now.
David says he's got big boots and he cannot lie. It's fantastic. We're going to take a brief break and be right back after about 60 seconds to dive into everyone's favorite segment, What the News?
I'm GW Pomager.
I'm Dina Marie.
I'm Sage Ia.
I'm Thomas Carter Rochester.
Hey, I'm David Thompson.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Mia.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Hey there, this is Dave Adams.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Rose.
Jerome Conner here.
Hey guys, it's Josh Bauer.
It's Willow Schuyler.
I'm Cosplay Michael.
I'm Alva.
It's your boy Country.
I'm Ryan Permison.
And I'd like to ask you guys,
please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please
subscribe.
Subscribe.
Please subscribe to HWWS
WebTV.
Great bunch of people.
And don't forget to smash the bell.
Ring that bell.
Smash that bell.
Hit that bell.
Hit the bell to be notified.
Hit the bell to get notified of new shows
and videos.
You're going to want to do that, so do that soon.
So we can cross that 20,000 mark.
And get us to 100,000 subscribers.
To 1 million and 10 million and 100 million.
On HWWS
WebTV.
You'll really like it. I guarantee it.
Thank you.
And we're back, and we're going to dive right into everyone's favorite segment, What the News? Up first, Miss Marvel trailer came out last Tuesday. It's not the trailer we all wanted, but hey, it was great. So there's a lot that we wanted. There's a lot that you noticed in this trailer. Really fast, let's talk about the trailer itself. Introduces Kamala Khan to the world. Important distinction between Kamala and Kamala. I like how they did that there. Inside the trailer as well. They use some fun graphics. Feels very teenage vibe. It's a coming of age story set inside the MCU, based on an MCU super fan, JRB. Like, that's us. That's basically us.
Yeah, it's kind of the show made for us, isn't it?
We are Kamala Khan. Like, we are Miss Marvel.
So what does that say about me, that I'm, after seeing the trailer, not really that excited for Miss Marvel?
What? Go on.
I know. Shocker, right? No, I gotta say, I don't really understand the whole Green Lantern-esque vibe of her power set, or how it's relevant. I'm sure we'll learn. So that's what's not connecting for me. So I'm still going to watch it, and I'll probably end up liking it a lot. But as of right now, I always have such a hard time separating from like the comic book, source material, because this is a very different character that we're going to be meeting, at least in terms of her power set. I know she'll probably still have the same core values. She'll still be the same character at heart, very clearly, with the being a Captain Marvel super fan. I can see the similarities will be there, but I'm just really confused like where this is going to go.
Mhm.
But I remember feeling the same way about WandaVision that ended up being a masterpiece. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, yeah, I really intriguing that you're not. Your hang up is set.
That's a big part of it, yeah. Because like I look at Kamala and I think in humans, you know, I think oh well,
Yeah.
is she the best opportunity we have to have kind of that bridge back to Inhumans after it failed so miserably back in, what was that, 2017, 2018?
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. And since then, that you guys yeah, Disney Plus. Did you know that? Not exactly. I'd love to see the numbers on who's a logical step towards that. Why they're trying to do is because they just failed so that I'm just piecing together what I want to see happen. So it's very personal. It's very much not a critique of any of the material. I think the comic booky vibe looks awesome. Like the written like text bubbles and like the narration seems cool as long as it's. I don't understand how effects like that will come into play in like a super dramatic scene and not like a fun-loving high school montage. But I don't know. I'm excited to see how they'll use that because that's pretty foreign to these projects so far.
Yeah, it is. That's fair. I'm not as into the comics on Miss Marvel. I learned about Miss Marvel in the Avengers video game, so like that's my introduction to her. And
then it's very similar. It's super similar. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's but it's more of like I'm not as tied into her and her origin and her abilities. I mean, there's a lot of reasons probably why. Logistically, her hands are shown, right? She's not always going to be. It's going to make certain CGI moments a lot harder doing it that way, as opposed to just encasing it inside of a crystal gem of cosmic power that will then tie into Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel. So
which
hopefully,
sounds a lot like Terrigenesis from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that brought about your inhuman abilities. So
maybe she's the key to the Inhumans. Like maybe whatever she's got is Kree Empire, and as soon as it taps into her, creates a home. Who knows? We're gonna find out in Multiverse of Madness, I guess. If
apparently we'll find out a lot in that movie. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
We didn't get the Thor trailer, but we did get the Miss Marvel trailer. It was fantastic. JRB, you found some stuff.
Yeah, not even me. The direct found some stuff.
The direct.
I just saw a picture and started thinking about it. No, Hot Topic officially unveiled a new batch of merchandise for Miss Marvel, featuring a fresh look at Kamala Khan's, interest in the Avengers and her obsession over them. The first listing, it shows an Avengers Con throw blanket. So it says Avengers Con on it, like it's a kind of like a convention, like Comic Con or C2E2 or something of that nature. And it shows a ton of different taglines that kind of reference the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. You have an exhibit called Things Hulk Smashed. You have another one that says The Hills of Asgard, and a separate one that says The Realm of Asgard. So you have essentially Hills of Asgard is probably New Asgard that's on Earth, and Realm of Asgard is probably an exhibit of the Realm of Asgard before it came to Earth. So you have, a exhibit that the public can visit regarding that. It's not, mythological anymore. It's like Peter Parker said, they study him in physics now. And so like they're studying other realms, and like the stuff that used to be exclusive to Natalie Portman's Jane Foster is now public knowledge. And it's something that even the common eye can see and become obsessed over, like Kamala. potentially. And this Captain Marvel Cosmic Avenger exhibit that they have on this throw blanket seems like that's probably the exhibit she's going to be pulled towards. So it'll be really interesting to see what's included in that exhibit that she learns about that possibly contributes to that hero origin story of hers.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. That'd be a lot of fun. I want to go to Avenger Con. Please. That's where I fall on this story. I enjoy that, you got the realm of Asgard and then the hills of Asgard, of course. I agree. Hills, obviously, it's where Odin dies. This could be Asgard. And then realm of Asgard. I mean, I don't know about you, but that looks like some rock. So I'm assuming it's a rip rock and roller coaster set to Thunderstruck and Led Zeppelin.
And who knows? Maybe that can contribute to the vibe that we're going to get in Thor: Love and Thunder. We don't know. We have no idea. They got some sort of rock vibe going on, and we still don't have the slightest clue as to what influences that. So we'll see.
Oh, well, I mean, okay. Star-Lord.
Okay, all right. Fair point. He's come into contact with Earth again, and even though James Gunn said he got right out of Earth as soon as he could,
he still got the music.
He got caught up on some stuff. Yeah.
He's got the Zune, baby.
He's got the Zune, baby. That's a whole new era.
It's a whole new era. And again, I really feel like there's going to be some Thunderstruck. I've been saying this. We're on the Thor trailer, so let's take this weed real quick. Phrasing. We are at, I want to say 112 days since the trailer or until the release, something like that. We're in like the 112 day-ish range until Thor: Love and Thunder comes out. Currently the second shortest span of all time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe without a trailer. Third is Spider-Man No Way Home at 116 days. First is The Incredible Hulk at 92 days. I'm going to say it here. I'm going to say it now. I truly think that after Ragnarok, after the build-up of what Thor went through in Infinity War and Endgame, I don't think you need a trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder the same way you need for Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel has almost 3 months of marketing to get people hype. Moon Knight had like 2-ish, a little over 2, I want to say. Yeah, about 2.5 months of marketing. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, 6 months. Spider-Man No Way Home had so much hype around it that you could just drop a trailer and it was going to get 100 million views. Thor: Love and Thunder. Let me read this list off for you really quick. We've got 2 Thors, 5 Guardians. You've got Korg, you've got Meek, Valkyrie. You've got all of those amazing supporting characters. You've got Gore the God Butcher, and you have 5 Oscar winners in this film. Natalie Portman for Best Leading Actress, of course. Christian Bale as Best Supporting Actor. Russell Crowe as Best Leading Actor. That's right. Russell Crowe's in this movie, people.
That's right.
All you got to do is show some of these people in there.
And he's also in the Craven movie, if you want to try to decipher whatever that means.
It means nothing because he's also Jor-El. He's just there to hang out and get paid. But then we've also got Taika Waititi, who's won an Oscar for writing, and Matt Damon. Matt Damon's an actor, but he's also won an Oscar for writing. So I included it because fuck it.
That's still an Oscar to me, baby.
It's still an Oscar, and there's so many other amazing things in. Oh yeah, did I say the Guardians are in this movie? Let me pitch you the trailer, kids. It opens up, and you've got Jane and Thor doing some stuff. I literally don't even care. Then you have some really colorful shots, a couple of jokes. Oh, what happened to you? Oh, man, I liked you better when you were fat. Yes, I liked you better when you were dust. Boom. Look at that. I wrote that joke on the fly. just yelling at Quail all the time. And then you go through, it builds up. They tell you the plot. Gore the God Butcher. I'm here to blah, blah. Get to the end. And it ends with a badass action sequence and Thunderstruck playing with Thor going, you just boom, Thunderstruck. I see it, I feel it, and it releases on May 6th, which would give it 62 days until release. Why do I say May 6th? 11 years to the day since the first Thor movie came out. Also, the original release date of this Thor Love and Thunder.
Ooh.
The day Multiverse of Madness comes out, giving it, if something or someone is coming into Thor Love and Thunder from Multiverse of Madness, then now, you can release it then and there. If a character, listen, I'm just going to be honest. If Beta Ray Bill shows up in Multiverse of Madness and then just walks on into the MCU, that might be why they hold back the Thor trailer. And at the end of the day, Taika, Thor, Portman, Guardians. That's all you got to do to sell this movie. And I think it could make a bill in under 2 months of marketing. It could make $1 billion, I think.
I can see that. I can totally see that. Honestly, I'll take it a step further. They've already recorded a promo of Deadpool entering the MCU, and they used Korg as a convenient tie-in because he was working with Taika on the time on Free Guy. It was very convenient. What if we're looking at Deadpool finally entering the MCU this year? There's been a lot of talk. We're going to get to it in a second. Sean Levy, he's taken on Deadpool 3. It's being written. It's being directed now. All right? We have actual progress on that. That progress is going to, it's hit the ground running. We can see him pop up pretty much anywhere now. We saw him show up in a concept piece for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And then a couple days later, very panicked, they said, oh, that's not real. We were never serious about that. Oh, look at it. It's Proxima Midnight. She's died multiple times. Clearly, this is just for fun. Why are you getting so defensive? What are you doing? Deadpool's right around the corner. We've been talking about his cameos for the past year now. Yeah. It's only a matter of time before he starts seeping in. You can't keep him out forever.
Can't, no. And when we get to Deadpool 3 in just a moment, I am looking for a list of every actor in the MCU that's worked with Ryan Reynolds. I can already think of a few.
Oh, some good ones.
Some good ones. But let's jump to everyone's favorite Spider Sony film, Morbius.
Take that with a grain of salt, if you will. Yes. Morbius continues to fill up the news space despite everyone's poor confidence in the upcoming performance. I feel like no one's confident in this movie being a successful film. I've only seen people really say that what they have seen has been not great, which is not awesome to hear because I'm super excited for this one, and I'm very excited to see where they take it.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks fun.
It looks fun.
It looks like Morbius.
It does look like Morbius.
And
it looks like he's using some cool echolocation that has these weird wispy shadows, and I'm here for that alone. But yeah, I don't expect anything from the story. I don't know why. I don't know if you guys have seen the Venom movies, but when you're seeing a Sony film, if it isn't also made with Marvel Studios, don't expect anything from the story. We're going for the visuals and for the laughs. Don't expect it to be a good movie. Then you're setting yourself up for failure. But anyway, Sony knows this, and they've taken once again the liberty of kind of sort of hinting that Spider-Man might make an appearance in this movie, may not. But they've at least claimed that he does exist in this Morbius universe while still not confirming which universe he's actually from. But the Morbius director, Daniel Espinosa, responding to a quote, said, of course, I mean, in almost all Spider-Verse or, the universes that exist in the Marvel universe, if you read the comic books, the whole idea of that kind of the Marvel string theory, if you call it that, is very related to the alternate. He brings up, if you remember, the alternate Seinfelds. You have a world where you have the same characters and it's all the same characters, but they are slightly different. So in almost all verses, you have Spider-Man or Fantastic Four or Tony Stark or Morbius, but they will be different in tone. So he's basically saying, yeah, Spider-Man's in this universe somewhere, but he might be a little different than what you're expecting. Could that mean that it might be a little different than the Tom Holland Spider-Man that we're expecting? Maybe. That could be Andrew Garfield's in. That could be our Amazing Peter 3 that we're looking for. He said that's not quite the way the Marvel Cinematic Universe is approaching the idea of these variants, but they're remaining to some core truth. So he's saying the MCU is sort of following this logic. He says, then you have the second kind of legend, which is about the totem, referring to like the core character, regardless of his physical or emotional traits, the idea of the character itself. That's that, in all universes, there's some sort of spider totem, whether it's Spider-Man, Peter Parker, or Miles Morales, or Spider-Gwen, or, Spider-Man 2099, where, there's some form of that person in every universe. So he's going very out of his way to say that Spider-Man is there, but also saying it might be different than what we've already seen. I don't think we're going to be meeting yet another Spider-Man variant in this Morbius movie. But if he's also setting the expectation that it might not be Tom Holland's Peter Parker, this could be another really solid piece of evidence that Andrew Garfield is still working with Sony in some sense, because he's saying it's a different Spider-Man than what we're used to. But what did they just reintroduce to us after several years of not seeing him? A Spider-Man variant that played a role for 30 minutes in No Way Home and then went back to his universe. What if that's the Morbius universe?
Yeah.
I think that might, it's a reach.
It's a big reach.
We're looking for the silver lining here, if Morbius is truly not a great film, is it at least going to give us another step towards what so many people want, which is Andrew Garfield spending more time in the spider suit?
And
I
want that. I want lots of that, please.
That will be a lot of fun. I'm here for it now. I wasn't a huge fan of either of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but after seeing him in No Way Home, it gave me just enough to where, I want them to do something else with him now. I'm cool with having multiple Spider-Men in multiple franchises. That's fine with me. They can make it work now. They've made sense. They can split it up.
I'm all about that. I'm in the exact same boat. I'm all about that. They've made it work somehow. Just keep it working, man. Like make it good. That's all I have.
Just make it good.
Just make it good.
Make it worth it.
Make it worth the price of admission. Anyways, that's all I have to say about Morbius. I will see that movie when it comes out. Deadpool 3, though.
Deadpool 3. Maximum effort. I love it. I absolutely love it. Sean Levy has been signed on to direct. That is actually really awesome news, because I don't think I had one single director in mind that I really wanted to take this on. I was just hoping that they would find the right person, that it would make sense to me once they found him. And Sean Levy seems to be Ryan Reynolds' best friend over the past few years, having directed Free Guy and working on, I feel like, several other projects at the same time with Ryan Reynolds. And now he's decided, the Adam Project. That's another one. My brother just watched it. I haven't seen it yet. He's telling me it's worth it. I got to check that one out too. And so he's on a sort of a hot streak right now with Ryan Reynolds. I take it as a great sign that he's been signed on to take on Deadpool 3, because that means Ryan Reynolds has confidence in him. Kevin Feige has confidence in him. The whole MCU team has confidence in this guy for obvious reasons. He's had a killer year. Just in the past year, we've seen Free Guy and now the Adam Project, back-to-back blockbusters, in my opinion. They've performed phenomenally, given the circumstances.
Free Guy, I saw that one in the theaters. Absolutely loved it. When they brought out Captain America's shield, I popped so hard. And then there's Hulk, and I'm like, I can't be any happier. Then they whipped out a lightsaber, and I sobbed on a date. It was super awesome. She literally never talked to me again.
She is not worthy.
And they played the music, man. It was great. It's fantastic. Bringing on Sean Levy to direct this, as soon as it was announced, I was like, beautiful. I was already excited to see the Adam Project, but now I have to see the Adam Project. I got to see what this is about. And because of Free Guy, I was like, man, like they should do this again. Like they should do something exactly like, this tone. This is basically a PG-13 Deadpool. Free Guy is. It really is. So then you give the same guy who did that, just take it all, do everything you want to do.
Well, and you
the
have
fact-
a guy that's familiar with the Disney budget too, because
Yeah.
Deadpool hasn't had a big budget, and now they really do.
Yeah.
And we just saw how he can handle that with Free Guy, and he handled it pretty well.
Well, actually, if I'm not mistaken, that was a Fox budget up
Oh, you're right.
until
Yeah,
a
that was.
specific point, and then while they were filming, I think they got bought, or like they'd already been bought while they were filming.
I think
So
yeah,
they
very
added
early
in
on.
all the Disney stuff that they were like, oh, let's do the Star Wars and Marvel. And they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
pick a couple, and they're like, we did them all.
Yeah, they clumped them all into one 5-minute segment, and they were like, "There it is. It's ours now."
They didn't add good old Mjolnir though, because he's not worthy. I'm so excited for Deadpool 3, and I was saying, like, I was trying to think of all the cameos that could happen. Done some research. So in Green Lantern 2011, that's when Taika Waititi made his first major appearance, if I'm not mistaken, on screen in the US. He was Tom Kalmaku, aka Hal Jordan's best friend on screen. In that movie, as Dr. Waller, I'm assuming that's supposed to be like an Amanda Waller, but whatever, is Angela Bassett, aka Mother Panther from the Black Panther franchise.
Mother Panther, I love that.
Mother Panther, Mama P.
Mama P.
Adventureland has Martin Starr, aka the guy from Incredible Hulk and the teacher. Smoking Aces. Oh, where's the person? There was one person. I was like, yeah, them. Smoking Aces. This is not an MCU actor, but I think that this would be a great time to bring him in. Is Chris Pine? I think Chris Pine. You having all four. Listen, I really think that having Chris Pratt, Chris Pine, Chris Evans, and Chris Hemsworth all in a scene together as characters would be clutch.
And it would be hilarious if Deadpool was the one to bring it in too.
To bring them all together.
Choose from these Chris's. I choose the one that hasn't been in here yet.
Yes, I choose this one. And he shows up as Spider-Man.
And it's been none of them.
Yeah. So I think that would be fantastic. Anything you want to see from Deadpool 3?
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Well, I mean, you got to remember he's done some time with some bigger actors too, like Samuel L. Jackson and Salma Hayek in The Hitman's Bodyguard and Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. They did multiple movies together, and they're both still big names in the Marvel world right now, having appearances. You know, Samuel Jackson, apparently he's filming multiple projects at once now, doing stuff for Secret Invasion, but also talking maybe possibly being in something like Black Panther. He's doing everything. And it would be very easy for Deadpool to cross paths with a guy like Nick Fury, especially with the position he's in right now, where it seems to be more, underworld stuff rather than, surface level, top secret agency type stuff. So that would be cool to see too. But I'm down for Deadpool, however he pops up. I think that Korg Deadpool collab that they did sitting on the couch was the perfect way to kind of test the waters. I'd love to see that in a bit of a larger sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am. I'm here. I'm here for Deadpool 3. I forgot to add this into a specific part of our production, but deleted Goblin Bridge scene. I forgot this even came out. Tell the people.
Yeah, that was interesting because they decided to show us all the previs stuff for it to show us how they built that scene, but we didn't really ever see that scene. So it was weird that they chose that one to kind of help us make us appreciate the process that goes into building a scene like that and then not showing us that scene in the movie. But nevertheless, it was really cool to see how all that kind of comes together, especially when so much of it is computer generated. These movies are so largely CGI now that you don't realize that some scenes that you see are just completely fake. And it's all from a green screen, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I saw somebody today, I think you tweeted it out, was the, these are two, the Spider-Man No Way Home scene and the Batman scene is like same budget, but they look entirely different.
Yeah.
And it's like one's using the volume technology, one's using a damn green screen on a sound stage in the middle of a COVID pandemic.
Right.
So,
one is supposed to be better than the other.
Yeah. Like who the hell cares about that? I thought this looked cool. I watched it. It was like 45 seconds. Would have been a fun take. Would have been enjoyable. Weirded me out. The whole thing was CGI though. But hey, I should be used to that by now.
Yeah. No, I kind of liked the way they handled it, where Peter was kind of in the dark on what Goblin was truly capable of until it was time to actually confront it. So I didn't have a problem with that being cut out at all.
Yeah, so I don't either. Moving on, Great Scott, Christopher Lloyd has joined Mando season 3.
I gotta say that one was pretty out of left field, but I am so here for it. Was there anyone expecting this news?
I don't believe so.
That's pretty crazy that they just dropped names. Because I remember when I first found out that Giancarlo Esposito was in the show, I was like, whoa, wait, okay, I have to start taking this show seriously because, they're pulling some big names for this. And I saw Bill Burr pop up and I was like, okay, yeah, I love this. But yeah, Christopher Lloyd is a huge name to just casually add on to a third season of a show. I mean, we knew that this was going to be a big deal because they spent half of Book of Boba Fett, just focusing on Mandalorian and getting us ready for season 3. But what on earth is this going to mean? What do we take away from this?
I'm reading here. It says that he's on the call sheet for the Mandalorian. His role is being kept, locked up in the trunk of a DeLorean, I do believe is the phrasing from the Hollywood Reporter, which I love.
Nice. Not at all forced.
Lucasfilm could not be reached for comment. Naturally, it's being described as guest starring in nature, so a 1 episode, 1 off. Kind of like Danny Trujillo in that 1 episode of Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Moving on to the DC side of things for again. The Blue Beetle has added legend George Lopez. The Wrap reported that is being reported by the Wrap. Excuse me. That he's joining. It's a pretty big deal. I don't know if anybody grew up watching the George Lopez show, but I absolutely love it. All right, here we go.
I woke up this morning and it was on TBS. Had March Madness on last night. Woke up this morning. George Lopez was playing. It was like I was in 4th grade again.
Love it, dude. Also joining the cast will be Ariane Barrazi, Elpiria Carrillo, close, and Damien Alcazar. They've all been added to the project. George Lopez will be playing Uncle Rudy. Barraza will be Nana, I'm guessing. Carrillo will be Rocio. I don't know how to say that one. And Alcazar as Alberto. They join the lead actor, whose name I do not know how to pronounce, Zolo Mariduena.
Oh, that is a tough one.
That's tough. They will be portraying Jaime Reyes and Belisa Escobidos. Yes, will be playing Meligro as the 4 newcomers finish filling out the Reyes family. That was really hard for me to say. I need to brush up on the entire Spanish language.
I asked Thomas beforehand to take that on because I didn't have the confidence to. So you got to give that to him.
Thank you. I can make it up as I go, I guess. Got a lot of cats.
Got a lot of cats.
The movie's director, Angel Manuel Sota, released a statement saying how it was always his goal to honor these amazing beloved actors from Mexico that have paved the way for Latin American cinema. So they are famous, well-known, paving the way for Latin American cinema, and I butchered their names. I'm so sorry, but I love you, and I will learn all about you as we get closer. Do you have any thoughts on good old George Lopez joining Blue Beetle?
Man, I'm just excited for Blue Beetle in general. I'm a big Injustice fan, so I play the video games, and Blue Beetle was featured heavily in the second one. And I would love playing as him when I would grind on that game. Adding George Lopez to the mix is I just said it, but it's out of left field. I don't think anyone was expecting that, but I'm now super excited to see the element he's going to bring to the show. And it makes me think, there's going to be at least some sort of comedic layer to this. Because, Blue Beetle's always been the playful type. He's kind of like Spider-Man in that sense. where he kind of hides his uncertainty in himself through his humor. Having George Lopez to play off of is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think, and not only that, but when it gets to that emotional weight, he's going to be able to bring that, and it's going to be, it's going to have power behind it. Power. That's something that Paul Dano now has as he's writing a Riddler prequel comic. DC Comics officially announced the new prequel titled Riddler Year One. The story will release in October as a 6-issue limited series. And as I said, it's penned by the Batman's own Paul Dano. Of course, this news is coming from the direct.com. For the people in the back, that's direct.com. Rataalada.com, the real world website tied to the Batman, first released new imagery for the prequel comic centered on the Riddler. As users enter the answers, Veritas, Exposure, and Honesty, an animated image shows up with the Riddler's glasses, highlighting the phrase Riddler Year One. Will you be reading this comic after watching the movie?
Oh, I'll be reading it, but it's going to be to make sure that Paul Dano's okay, because he told us leading into this film that he went to some pretty dark places to capture this role entirely, and that he was pretty scared of what came out of the other side there. We got to be careful with this guy because he's quite the gem, and he's embodying this role perfectly, and we want to keep him around for the long haul. So yeah, I'll be reading it. I'll be attentively watching, making sure Paul's okay. I'll bring him a cup of water and read him a story if I need to make sure he can sleep at night, because we want to be able to keep him going on this.
Yes. Really quick. What's the first movie you ever saw Paul Dano in that you can remember?
Oh boy. I don't know. I don't think I know.
Really?
I'm going to look at his movies right now and tell you, because
For me,
I feel like he's someone I've always known, but never really, connected with.
Okay. I've known this actor for, I guess now that would be 18 years. Yeah. 2004, The Girl Next Door, starring Alicia Cuthbert, Emile Hirsch, Timothy Oliphant, Paul Dano, and Chris Marquette, Olivia Wilde. It's all about the girl next door. A teenager's dream comes true when a former porn star moves in next door, and he falls in love, and it leads to this whole thing. It's first where I met Timothy Oliphant as well, who's now just being the sexy cowboy Cobb Vanth on Star Wars.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian. That's where I first met Paul Dano, and everything since then I've just absolutely loved. Highly excited for seeing more Paul Dano as the Riddler and reading about his origin story. Which brings us to the end of the news. We did it. We made it through the entire news cycle, which means, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting at the end of the show. You know what I'm saying? So you can find Lights, Thunder, Action. All of our links can be found at Linktree.com/LightsThunderAction. That gets you our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Of course, Twitter, we're over there at LTA Podcast, ing action verb. JRB, where can everyone find you on social media?
You can find me at JRB_direct on Twitter and Instagram. I frequent there. You can also find me regularly in the Direct's Discord server. I've pushed that pretty prominently, pretty frequently. I like hanging out in there, talking to everyone about what their thoughts might be. Sometimes it even gives me new ideas for articles I can write. That's another place you can find me, at thedirect.com, where we all produce some awesome content about all of the latest happenings in Marvel, Star Wars, DC, and even the video game industry with PlayStation and Xbox. So lots of places where we can connect.
Absolutely. You can find all of my links at linktree.com/TCRochesterACT. That's TCRochesterACT. And of course, that's also my Twitter handle. I tweet more than I do anything else these days, but that's mostly because that's where all my comic book friends hang out. Speaking of comic book friends hanging out, this Thursday, March 24th, is the 5-year anniversary for 2017's Power Rangers, a reboot that sadly never got a sequel. But your boy TCR is going to be hanging out with Ryan Permison of Nerd Culture over on the Nerd Culture handles, and here on the HWWS WebTV, we will be doing a watch along of Power Rangers. And kids, I don't think you understand how much I love the Power Rangers, but that shit formed me. So I'm going to dive into why the 2017 movie is fucking perfect as it is, as a time capsule of what Power Rangers could be in our modern time. 7 p.m. Oh, wait, 8 Eastern, 7 Central.
There it is.
There it
Love
is.
it.
I had to remember time zone really quick. JRB,
awesome.
You got anything to promote coming up?
No, nothing. I just look out for my latest and greatest feature on the direct.com. I'm trying to make more time to get back into writing because I've just been kind of behind the scenes lately, not really cooking anything up on my own. So I'll have an article dropping later this week about where Disney Plus could go with some of the recent changes they've made. So keep an eye out for that, specifically with Marvel related content. And we'll probably be talking about that on next week's show.
Yeah, that was supposed to be our main topic, but then he saw the Batman. So
we're going to leave it. We're going to leave it because I'll have something cooked up for us where we can really go into depth on that. But yeah, lots coming to Disney Plus. Lots already arrived with the Netflix shows, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming up. They've got a whole lot of backlog to go through. So we'll talk more about how that relates to the current MCU and where it stands and what it could look like going forward.
Of course. What about recommendations for the audience?
Biggest recommendation I have this week is Severance, a series on Apple TV led by Adam Scott. I've never seen Adam Scott in a leading role before, and he freaking nails this role that he has in Severance, which is directed by Ben Stiller. It's super out there, super unique idea about this medical procedure that they create and a company takes advantage of, where you can actually sever two parts of your mind, so you can have a mind at work and a mind at home, and they do not link or intermingle at all. So you can be essentially two separate people, and a company takes that procedure and really forces it onto their employees in a very strange way. But I'm 5 episodes in. It's currently running on Apple TV every Friday, but really it comes out on Thursday at 8 p.m. for the super followers. So tune in with me 8 p.m. on Thursdays while my fiance and I watch that and continue to have our minds blown.
Hell yeah. I am going to recommend an anime. A friend of mine has gotten me into The Future Diary, and I don't want to say it's a murder mystery, but it's how it was pitched to me. It's more of who's going to win. Okay. All right. So everybody jots down in their diary, and their diary, aka their phone, then becomes a viewing into the future, and however they document stuff into their diary is how they can predict the future. So someone jots down every little thing they notice and everything they think about what they think they notice. And that is, how they can then have the future told to them. Some people can only get information if it relates to something, to a case, like if they're a cop. This show is fucking insane. There's 26 episodes, and I think I'm on episode 10, and it just hit a point where I was like, where is this going? It starts off with what I'm assuming is the end of the series, or at least the end of the main characters of the series, because they're like, oh my God, I can't believe they show this so early on in the thing. And I'm like, huh, okay. So it's wild. There's a lot of mystery. You're always trying to figure out who's going to kill you next. And it is very graphic. I will say it's very graphic. It is an adult show, not for kids, not safe for work, barely safe for work from home. Okay. Like I'm telling you, it's fantastic.
Okay.
There's a couple things that made me go, oof, if that were live action, I'd very much want to puke right now. Thankfully, it's anime, kids. The Future Diary. It's on Hulu for the next 11 days, and then I think it's hopping back on to either Funimation or Crunchyroll. So you can watch 2 episodes a day and get through it. You got this, kids.
Nice.
But that means we've reached the end of the show. It's your first show, JRB. How you feeling? You've wrapped up the first one.
I feel pretty good. I'm super ecstatic to be here. I'm super happy to have David and Terry producing alongside us. Especially having David still in the mix really keeps my brain in the right place where, I know that his blessing is still on us, and his hand is still guiding us through this adventure we're on together. So yeah, super stoked to be a part of it. One episode down, many more to go. I'm super excited to see where this goes.
Wow. Yes. Cannot wait. And as always, there could actually be no show without the Iron Man variant to my left, world famous journalist, John Ross Bradford, bringing a much needed eloquence and wit to this bombastic me. Thank you. Thank you to Terry McIver and David Thompson for all the work behind the scenes that they're doing, commenting, sharing, etc. Thank you to the HWWS WebTV family for supporting and carrying us on the network. And most importantly, thank you to our fans that join us weekly, whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, or listening via Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, or Spotify. We appreciate you spending your time with us.
Like, follow, subscribe, drop us a comment, leave a review, give us 5 stars if you feel we are worthy.
Worthy. We hope y'all had a great night. We hope you learned a thing or four. As always, I'm TCR.
I'm JRB.
Thank you for tuning in to episode 78 of LTA. We'll see you next time, kids.
See ya.